我觉得赢下 BLG 的关键主要是在于我们中后期的团战以及中期的决策上，所以我们只要做好这些，我相信我们还有机会赢下他们。Amazing J 选手是一个打法比较全面，然后英雄池比较广的选手，然后打团也是比较厉害，所以我也要跟他一样，然后对团队的贡献尽量能达到最大。
Alright, Zoom, I get your point about Amazing J having a lot of champions, but Angry reacts to the first part about JDG there, because you didn't have to do anything in the mid to late game. You just won comprehensively through the early game that first match.
I also don't agree with the fact that he thinks that Amazing J has a comprehensive champion pool. Like, I understand that you want to be humble, you want to talk up your opponent, so you look really good when you take them down. But let's be frank, AJ does not have a comprehensive champion pool. He plays about 3 champions up in that top lane, so I don't have Angry Cat Face, but I do have the white flag, and I'm waving it for BLG.
I'm waving it for Amazing J as well after that PM to his picks at the top side of the map. BLG are going to make some changes coming into their second set against JDG. They're bringing in Chieftain as well as Mole as their substitutes over as well as Mianhua, because we didn't see anything from them to impact the early game for BLG. What is this sub going to do for them, especially now that they're playing on the blue side of Summoner's Rift?
I will make it very clear that I do think that this is BLG's strongest roster. I think that they should be playing with Mole and Chieftain every time. That said, Mole and Chieftain are very young players. Korean jungler, Chinese mid laner, so obviously some miscommunication that can happen, some growing pains as they're trying to invest more, get them more used to the roster and build up that synergy. But I believe that if they stick with this iteration of the roster, this will be the future of BLG.
Because that's what BLG used to climb to playoffs last split. And that was the big change for them.
They have the bloodthirst. They have the drive. You saw Athena that game. That guy sat for 30 minutes at 0-0-0. If you are 0-0-0 as a mid laner at 30 minutes, you are playing terribly.
Yeah, he wasn't playing too well in that last match. Oh, wait, hang on. We have Zaya Rakan figurines? That's amazing. Sorry, I just noticed that. I want to pick them up now after this.
They have pineapple shirts. And I actually just want to go over there.
I want a pineapple shirt as well. My pineapples have been banned from this broadcast for a long time. Looking at you, producers backstage, free the pineapple. But moving into what you were talking about there, for the side of Chieftain and Mole, just seems like, as you do with all sports, from time to time players just are not on form. It feels like they started the split strong. I mean, Demacia Cup showed that. Yes, Mianhua played for a lot of it, but when Chieftain and Mole play, they still look as good as they were during Spring Split. Coming into the start of the split, they still looked very good. They had some very unlucky games, and I'm going to call them unlucky for the first 4 to 5 matches. But that luck just seemed to be off form after those first few games. Cross-conference was good for them, and it seems like once they can find their form again, perhaps they could be the duo that brought them back to playoffs.
They're just new. I don't think that they lost their form. I just think that they've been pushed by the meta. They're no longer, able to come out of solo queue, have their key champions, and then play them every single time. The meta has shifted. They need to now have wider champion pools, and they just simply haven't had the time to really develop that type of skill set for competitive play. So, again, I like Chieftain and Mole over the likes of Athena, because I think that these players simply have a higher skill ceiling, but you're not going to get that same consistency and that same veteranship.
And I know we didn't see Zoe being picked up by Yakao in that last match, but we still saw him play Galio, went back to being more of a supportive champion, or supportive player in the mid lane as well for JD. And when he needed to make those flashy plays, he did. He was the man that went for the taunt flash, which was the only real hard crowd control that JD had, and almost actually won a teamfight which could have just broke open the game. That could have been the end for JD if they did win that teamfight. It was 10 to 15 hit points which stopped them from winning the fight, and they didn't even lose it. So they're still showing they have the star power of Yagao in the mid lane. He can go back to being a supportive mid lane player if he needs to be. And if for some reason BLG leaves Zoe open, or if Yagao decides he's going to play a carry champion, he could turn into the carry beast that we've seen him do many times in the summer split.
Yeah, it's the versatility and the flexibility of Yagao that makes him such a potent rising star in the LPL. He was my rookie of the split, so I'm happy to see him continue to shine, especially as, other rookie of the split nominations have faded away into the background.
Yeah, Raz, what's going on?
But there's the roster swap that we were referencing. So Chieftain now back in with his partner in crime, Mole, in the mid lane. And we'll see if they can get it done, if they can hold together an early game. It was these two guys that really brought an early game to BLG, which is a point of the game they never had any sort of game plan in before.
One they desperately need as well. After the performance from JD in the early game, Zoom said it himself. They expect to go toe-to-toe against BLG in the mid to late game, where he thought BLG is strong, but JD are just stronger. That's why he wanted to take it to them there. He didn't even have to. It was all about the early game, and if Chieftain and Mole can't bring early game for BLG, they really need to rethink their strategy and what they're doing with their roster swaps, if they want to have any hope of making it towards playoffs, because they're sitting quite low on the ladder. They don't have many games to work with to get to playoffs.
Chieftain's like, I need it. Bring in the special sauce. Get me the Warhorse. Taking a big old gulp. I've never actually seen a player reach for Warhorse.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Warhorse is great.
It's an energy drink.
There's one that I know Rusty and I don't really like. It's the cherry one, but the other one, I don't know what flavor it is, but it tastes amazing.
The fact that there's multiple flavors. I've had a Warhorse before, and let's just say I was wired for like 6 days.
You were a Warhorse.
It is not a baby energy drink. That is like you have to be a professional energy drink drinker to handle that.
Well, Chieftain and Mole gets subbed in. Reach towards the Warhorse could be the chance for them to try and carry this match. But is it really going to be towards... Is there anyone else really that we can look towards in BLG and say, he could step up, he could carry?
No, I think it has to be Chieftain and Mole.
Has to be mid lane and jungle duo.
That's the issue. Maybe they get into late game 5v5s and then you can never count BLG out, but we're never getting there.
So what do they have to do to dissect Klid and Yakao? Because that seems to be the duo that's going to bridge the early game for JD.
You need to prioritize your mid-jungle matchup in your drafting phase and stop drafting for team fights and start drafting for that lane phase. Especially when you give away Kindred, because if you have something like a Galio, which at level 6 can almost automatically win the rotation because of ultimate, and then can match a lot of champions' pushing power with his wave clear, then you basically just create this massive safety net over both sides of neutral river, where Kindred controls all of that space and then has the backup of the allied mid laner.
Did Road get unlucky in that last match? Because we didn't see him feast a famine. I mean, Road in teamfights looks sound. He was actually landing the hooks that he needed to on Pyke, but we didn't see him roam or rotate as often as we want.
It was misexecution. You saw multiple times that like Jin Zhao would flash forward, he'd try to catch someone with an ultimate, and that they were just desynced. Road and Jin Zhao have been together for 200 games in the LPL now, so there's no excuse for the type of blunder. So I frankly have to say that BLG just misexecuted, didn't draft correctly, and they paid the price.
Well, now they've brought in Chieftain and Mole, and they've moved over to the blue side of Summoner's Rift. We expect things to change in Champion Select, and they must change for BLG if they want a shot at taking down JD in Game 2. So let's see if they make those changes, and already done something great here for Oscar. Look at the first ban that's come out from BLG. They take Kindred off the table, deny Klid from picking up the champion.
Is it great when you do it from blue side, though?
Not really. But if you can't play it, and you know the opposition can, you have to ban it away. They've shown that they can't threaten with bringing in Mianhua into the jungle. So they make the change. LeBlanc as well as Rakan follow through for BLG. Tahm Kench and Morgana are banned up by JD. With Aatrox being the final ban, we now look towards Zoe. That could be the priority pick for either of these two teams.
I almost think you have to do it here. Oh no, they're going to prioritize AJ's champion pool. Now technically Camille can be a flex between Chieftain and AJ, but 9 times out of 10 when Camille gets locked in for BLG, it does go into AJ's hands. Because as I said previously, Zoom said that AJ has a wide champion pool. He doesn't have a wide champion pool. He plays like 3 champions and Camille is his best.
Camille should be heading into the top lane for BLG, but let's keep track. JD decided they're not going to prioritize Zoe yet. They go for Shen as well as Ezreal as their first 2 picks.
I think it's because they recognize that they don't need the Zoe to succeed, but if they do get it, it's just the cherry on top. You know, the fact that Yagao can play the Rise, which is often what the LPL takes into a Zoe pick. If Yasuo gets locked in, probably won't see that one.
Mole could play in the mid lane, try and work with Chieftain to cause a combo going.
We did see some of his crazy highlight Yasuo plays in the break timer, so I expect that this will go into the hands of Mole and not Jin Zhao.
Trying to pull out a carry performance, take it to the side of JDG.
And so far with the Sejuani, if that gets locked in, they basically showcase all of their solo laners opening and exposing themselves to counterpick right as we go into secondary ban phase, and then first pick out of that to JD Gaming. BLG, why?
Entire top side of the map has been drafted for BLG, whereas JD, they've shown next to nothing. You can draft your bottom lane nice and early if you want to, and they have the flex pick of Shen. JD are doing just fine.
Doesn't get any easier than that about exactly how you want to sculpt any of these matchups. Since you have a Shen with the Ezreal, and you already saw Loken and Lumao outperform Jin Zhao and Road previously, now they have that much more kill pressure because it's not a Tahm Kench, it is that Shen. And Lumao, he kind of goes under the radar, the unsung hero of JD Gaming when you have the likes of Klid and Yagao popping off, making these flashy plays. But Lumao is a very solid support player. I would actually say he's either top 3 or top 4 supports in the LPL.
fundamentally strong and has been a core component of helping Loken out. Loken is known to pick up hyper carries when JD need it. Recently, with the current meta from 8.11 onwards, it's not been about hyper carries because they got nerfed to oblivion for some time. But he's shown he can go back to the likes of Ezreal, he can play those signature picks in the bottom lane with the current meta, and Lumao's been stepping up a little bit more to compensate for that almost.
So what I do find interesting here is picking up the Swain as opposed to picking up the jungler here and trying to conserve Clid from getting banned out a little bit more. By taking away the Swain and then banning the Orianna, maybe they're trying to force Jin Zhao onto the Varus because they love the Ezreal-Varus matchup. It worked well in game number 1. They assume that they can execute just as hard in game number 2. That's an interesting strategy. I still would have preferred them. I think it's safer to prioritize Clid's champion pool because, again, the mid-jungle matchup is just that important and trying to crack open JD's ultimate strength, which is allowing Yagao to roam around.
Which they hold on to bits and pieces of it, and they will have the final counter pick. Now they know everything that's going towards top side of the map, so they can counter what they want here. It will be Yasuo in the mid lane unless Jin Zhao picks it up, so Dwayne in the jungle with Amaze J picking up Camille. The bans coming out from BLG were Trundle as well as Talia, and we had Orianna and Alistar being taken away by JD. Emperor of Shurima being locked in for JD here, so we will see Swain into the top lane.
It's been a while since we've seen his top lane Swain. Fun fact about Yagao, I know we talk at length about his Zoe, but when he first entered the LPL, his Azir was permabanned away from him. It was his signature champion and the champion that he was very well known for when he was an up-and-comer before joining the LPL.
And then we released Zoe.
Yep.
How things changed. Kai'Sa is the pick coming in here for Jin Zhao in the bottom lane. They'll be locking in their support of choice to go up against the Ezreal Shen combo for JD. Final pick jungle coming out for Clid.
Saw him flash
Interesting last pick.
Lee Sin. I don't mind Braum. You see that it's a Shen, so you're trying to fight kill pressure for kill pressure.
Has the interaction with Sejuani as well.
Yep.
Tying the passives together, making sure you have good lockdown and skirmishes as well as team fights. So final pick jungle coming out from JD. You said he did flash the Lee Sin pick. Could decide to go for a statement game, but I'm pretty sure the coach is not going to let that happen.
Coach home again behind JD Gaming, formerly of Team WE's coach when they went to the semifinals at Worlds. I think that was probably one of the biggest upgrades that JD Gaming made with their team, is that they have really invested in the infrastructure behind the organization. 2
losses in this split so far for Oscarin. JD have been looking really good. One of them was to Invictus Gaming. He had an upset loss against a team I can't remember coming. I was very happy with JD when it went into that match. Unfortunately, they had an upset there. Being the second one so far in this split, whereas BLG, they've picked up 5 wins, but most of them through cross-conference. Their intra-conference play hasn't looked too good so far. Olaf was the final pick that came out from JD, so Clid's going to have a very aggressive early jungler on his squad. Gets rid of some of the crowd control that BLG will be able to dish out.
And BLG putting together a very easy and very standard composition from them. The big thing that stands out to me is the Camille. Again, it's one of AJ's signature picks. They usually perform well when AJ is set up for success because he is the shot caller, the captain of BLG. He's really the heart and soul of this team. And then changing up the bot lane. So hopefully Road on the Braum is able to help out Jin Zhao down there, or maybe unlock himself a little bit earlier, team up with Chieftain in that jungle, and try to get BLG something on this map within the first 10 minutes.
Which unfortunately for them, right, they weren't set up for success. I mean, Mason J wasn't in that last match. The flex pick of Gragas almost got casually thrown his way during the late stages of pick and ban. Up against a gangplank, especially with Clid playing Kindred to be very aggressive against Gragas on the top side of the map. AJ didn't have a good game. His ultimates weren't bad. A lot of the times that he missed was actually just outplays coming out from the side of JD. So he still performed well, but as you said, he needs to be set up for success if he's going to be one of the star carries for the team. He's picked up quite a few MVPs for BLG as well when they do win.
On the other side, though, JD Gaming have a traditional team fighting composition. It does have a lot of poke and siege potential with the Azir and the Ezreal, but what's really cool about it is its zone control between an Ezreal, Swain, and Azir. the ability to control space and to fight front to back is actually very difficult to penetrate on JD's composition. So when you look at BLG as a team, they love to team fight, they love to all in, they love to wombo combo. JD Gaming's composition can reset a lot of that and is very frightening to try to attempt.
Let's see if JD can get the resets off, but it's good to see that BLG have something more comfortable as we go into Summoner's Rift for game number 2.
Uh-oh. Descent in the ranks.
It's all broken down. There's no synergy anymore. Quick!
Can't cheer for RNG when they're not winning, mate.
Yeah, cheer for JD. That's why the managers, that's the biggest upgrade for JD. Come on.
I mean, he's been with the team through thick and thin. It used to just be him cheering.
Yep.
Might still just be him cheering, but...
You never know with how loud he cheers.
I swear he just knows where the mic is on the crowd.
He finds it every single time.
Take a look at the Keystones. Nothing.
Unsealed Spellbook coming out from Braum. It's becoming a bit more popular on supports. Tom Kench picks it up quite frequently.
I just think it's probably one of the most unexplored Keystones right now, particularly for top laners. I understand why a lot of top laners can't go into it, because you need to have that trading potential, but I just feel like the Gouda, the cheese, of just having a cheeky extra summoner spell, something that you might not expect coming out.
Get the level 3 ignite for the level 2 gank.
Yep.
Something nice and early to help out.
I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the cheese strategy to really become a staple in the LPL for top laners.
The road does start with heal, so with AD carries picking up teleport a little bit more, he'll be able to provide that defensive summoner that not only helps him, but also his AD carry and could swap out to exhaust and ignite later on for taps, teleport if they need to make some cross-map plays. Level 2 picked up by Amazing J, so it was a good trade at the start of the match for Zoom. But Amazing J fights back. And now we're getting to see that he's a little bit more comfortable, especially now that he has one of his signature picks in the top lane. And
this is really the only pick that AJ is really consistent and confident to lane on. Amazing J is not known as a strong laning top laner. It's always been about his cross-map teleports and how he 5v5s and leads the team in kind of their death ball charge. Zoom, however, is an excellent laning top laner. He's found solo kills on all of our top laners in the league. I believe is ranked second in terms of DPM, EXP differences, CS differences, all at 10, so he's got the stats to back it up.
Checking in with the mid lane, Maul has picked up one of his signature picks of Yasuo. That being said, Yagao has his Azir. He's known for this pick, trying to go toe-to-toe in the mid lane against Yasuo, but it's just been Maul getting the shove to start the match. And I really want
the Easy Hoon skin as well.
Yeah, going for the SKT skin.
Does it no longer get to be the Easy Hoon skin? It's just the SKT skin?
To be fair, it's the Easy Hoon skin. That Azir was Easy Hoon for some time.
We've taken a lot from him, Fish. I don't think we should take that one from him.
No, let's not get rid of that. Chieftain is setting for a gank on the top side of the map. Mason J and him are waiting inside the bush. I really want to look at JDG's lineup in terms of their players, not their picks for this match. Because when we said that JD's a top team now, is there anyone on their team that we can say is the best player in their role in the LPL?
No.
So how does this team do it? Is it really their coaching staff? Is it really their synergy?
It's the discipline and the synergy. I kind of feel like they're the new Team WE, not in the sense of how they play the game. You know, they're not slow playing games, as we take a look at Mole's Yasuo, but in the fact that the sum of their parts mean more in the end. Because a lot of the teams in the LPL, if you want to be a top tier team, you must have a top tier ADC. You know, we have Jackie Love, SMLZ, Uzi, iBoy, and then you have Loken. And Loken is certainly overperforming than he has in the past, but I'd say he's top 7, number 6 at best. And out of 14 teams, that's too far down to really be a champion of the LPL. So if JD Gaming do become LPL champions, if they make the miracle run, it's off of the back of their discipline, their consistency, and their team synergy.
And just to talk about Loken a little bit quickly, you have to remember that the AD carry pool in the LPL is absolutely stacked. I mean, RNG at one point had Y4, they had Abel and Uzi sitting in the AD carry roster. That's already 2 extra AD carries that are in the top 10 or AD carries at one point in time this split. Being on one team, we're currently with the MSI champions. Side of JD, we always look towards Clid and Yakao almost, because that was the jungle mid lane duo that we said could be one of the best duos in the LPL. Not necessarily the best individually, but when they work together and the interesting ways they work together, could be the best combination.
And it's nice to see Clid continue to thrive. Now, reminders that those who don't watch the LPL, Doinby used to be the primary mid laner for JD Gaming. You know, he went from the QG Reapers with Swift, he then joined JD. Hold on.
Small skirmish, bottom side of the map. Goes in favor of JDG, but Ginger just takes some damage there.
Trades one aggressive jungler for another one in Clid, and then when JD Gaming lost Doinby, a lot of people just wrote this team off. You know, how do you reboot losing your star player, 2017 MVP of the LPL, on a team that didn't make playoffs, and you find someone like Yagao?
Yeah, it turns out you just have to brush your teeth from time to time, Frostgurn.
Get rid of those cavities.
Seems to have worked out for JD. Now they, as you said, they've got Coach Home, so they've got the support staff as well to bring them this far. And this could be the time for JD to try and make a run for the World Championship. And it's a big organization. I mean, this is one of the biggest e-commerce companies in China.
So for those who don't really know what Jingdong is, they're obviously the sponsor behind JD Gaming. It's what JD stands for, and they're effectively Amazon. You can order any sort of product that you want, and it's basically delivered same day, if not next day, and it is massive in China.
I mean, I put it this way. If you go to the website, you can buy a car from the website. You can buy plane tickets from the website.
Mine's in the mail.
I saw that you bought quite a few things this morning, which I had to wake up at 7 AM to pick up for our screen.
I can't hear the door.
Our dog was pretty angry at the 3 delivery guys that showed up between 7 to 10 AM today.
He's vicious. Watch out for him.
Oh boy. But it is a big team, and with the backing they have the likes of JD as an organization, and then performing well from Spring Split's late run into playoffs, and now Summer Split looking to be one of the favorites going into playoffs almost. It's their time to make the run. And if they can't win the Summer Finals, they have many other ways to try and do so through points, potentially going through the 3rd place for the LPL like we saw Team WE do last year and make it all the way to semi-finals even.
It was actually BLG that cut JD Gaming's run short in spring when they ran into playoffs in the first round. Now, BLG did get a seed point advantage, which certainly didn't help JD Gaming out. And if JD do want to make the miracle run towards Worlds, they must have a very deep run into the playoffs to just qualify themselves for the regional qualifier through championship points.
So far in a good position to do so, 11-2 in the standings, only dropping. I mean, the only big team that really dropped to so far was Invictus Gaming, and they had one upset so far during cross-conference. So they're looking pretty good. And their clinical performance in their first match against BLG goes to show that they're still improving, they're still working their strategy, and still using what they're well known for, those fundamentals, the tempered aggression that we see out of them to their advantage. Side of BLG, they've had an up and down split all the way from spring to summer, even Demacia Cup being a big high point for them going to the grand finals. Another big organization, they're a big streaming platform that focuses on anime here in China.
I feel like Crunchyroll is probably the best example of Bilibili Gaming to a Western counterpart.
Big team, lots of fans. You always see plenty of BLG fans, especially holding up Amazing Jake crossplay signs.
He's kind of like the sneaky of the LPL. Yeah. He's kind of got that lax, trolly, memey attitude, and he's going to get some assistance from his team up here.
He's going for a fight against Zoom, only able to slow him down, doesn't get the stun, but Sejuani collapses. Locked down, Shen's going to join in, and there's teleports coming out from BLG. Lumao is here, gets a taunt to disengage. Zoom has stayed alive. Mole taking quite a bit of damage from the Ignite. The rest of the team is going to try and collapse. They lock down one, they pull back Amazing Jake. Gal's going to look to try and shuffle into this fight, but BLG start the fight top lane, and they can't kill the Swain.
Excellent protection from Lumao right there. And again, that cross-map communication coming through from game number 1 all the way to game number 2. And with the rotation from both Clid and, oh, hold on.
Jinjiao going very aggressive. Loken first arcane shift away. Takes a lot of damage from the passive, but he will flash away nice and early to stay safe.
Probably the most aggressive play we've seen Jinjiao and Road make. Almost worked out for them.
But you were talking about top side of the map. They couldn't kill Zoom, and they almost turned around for JD.
Oh yeah, and then in response, the fact that Yagao and Clid got 2 deep control wards into BLG's jungle, we're going to see what they do with that type of information, because right now it's been all about Zoom and AJ up into this top lane. BLG really want to break this Camille and start getting that snowball going so AJ can run away with the game on one of his power picks.
Now it's difficult if you can see that a 3-man early gank didn't work out. There's also a stopwatch to boot now. Mole saved by the small melee minion that stopped that turret aggro for a while, trying to disengage. Axe is being thrown, slowed down, and first blood is going to be picked up by Clid. Meanwhile, Chieftain forced to flash and charge away from the rest of JD there.
And that hero minion tried so hard to save Mole on the Yasuo, but that's what we're talking about. Yagao showcasing Athena, who's probably sitting backstage. This is how you play this champion, and this is how you get it done.
Be aggressive.
Be
able to be aggressive.
aggressive.
Meanwhile, Lumel rotates back towards the bottom side of the map. Loken not able to find too much damage on the chip against Road. Bottom lane's been fairly even. Tier has been picked up by Loken, as is Sheen as well, going towards his next mana item. So could be the Iceborne Gauntlet first. But he was the play in the mid lane. Both junglers were here. They got the jump onto Mole first.
I cannot believe he doesn't take tower aggro right there because of the one minion. Would have meant that they didn't have to chase so deep, ultimately get the kill in the end. And the guy who really gets cheated there is Lumao. Doesn't get the assist, just shows up for the moral support.
Sometimes that's all you need when you're Shen.
But his, this is why I really like Lumao. Technically, he is a very strong support. He has a wide diversity and range of champions. His cross-map communication is always very clean, so something like Shen and Tahm Kench he excels with, as Clid's not going to chase that one. But then also his mind for the game, how he reads the map, the fact that he was in position for that mid lane play as it was happening. Didn't get the assist, but was there to try to make more of it, and if there was a counter gank, would have been ready to react.
Goes back to how JD play, right? They're not the flashiest of individual players, but fundamentally, they're solid. So even though Lumel didn't need to do anything there, he was there in case he had to. Now he's on the bottom side of the map. Big fight breaking place here as Rose, the one that's taking quite a bit of damage. Lumel is tanking things up. Now down below, half health, forced to flash away. Loken even playing this one nice and safe, but it's just the supports that take a trade. Road not afraid to be a little bit aggressive against the Shen in the bottom side of the map. Ignite is coming back up for Shen shortly.
Needs to be really careful about how this trade goes down. They know that Sejuani should be on the bottom side of the map because her red buff was up, I believe.
Johnny is at Krugs at the moment, so can be there.
Oh, unlucky.
Was trying to stop the recall blind, doesn't get it. Meanwhile, the missile comes out from Jinzhao and does tag Rima.
And we haven't really gotten to talk a lot about this lane phase, and that's simply because looking at these champions and at these compositions, nothing really should have happened in the lane phase. We were going to be waiting for level 6 anyways. We're now, much closer towards level 9, towards two levels in ultimates as we get closer to level 11, and that's where things were really going to start to heat up with both these compositions. So both teams kind of had this gentleman's agreement outside, couple of ganks top. I'll see it level 9, level 11.
Is that a win for BLG because they brought in Mianhua as well as Athena in the first match for that early game aggression, but in game 2 they're able to temper the aggression and stop any of these early plays? Is that a win for them, knowing that they can now take it to mid and late game against JDG?
Yes, hold on. They're trying to force it right now. I mean, BLG's composition, it is kind of that wombo combo big team fight composition, so they wanted to get to a point where they grouped up anyway. So yes, I would agree that JD Gaming having a slower paced, scaling comp with both an Ezreal and an Azir, as well as a Swain, even though Swain's trying to get it done in lane phase, is a big win.
Well, BLG able to take the first turret of the match, but they're still 500 gold behind JD despite taking the first major objective. Now moving towards the first elemental dragon of a Cloud Dragon. Meanwhile, Clid's working on the fact that there are a lot of members bottom side of the map, picks up a Rift Herald, and Zoom chipping away at this top lane outer turret. So BLG will trade evenly when it comes to objectives, but it seems like JD get the best of the objectives taken here.
Yeah, especially because they have the likes of an Azir versus something like a Yasuo. Now, Yasuo, of course, can stall towers being taken with access to the wind wall, but there's not a lot of safe wave clear on BLG's composition. They're really dependent on, I guess, Kai'Sa walking up to a minion wave and pressing Q, but otherwise you have Kai'Sa, who's a mid-range ADC, and then you have Yasuo and Camille, who need to be on top of minion waves to clear them, that if JD Gaming start to get this siege composition rolling with the Azir and the Ezreal, BLG must be forced to pull the trigger and fight, which means that they can't fall behind at any point in this game because their only way to turn that around is to put their face in it. And if they fall behind, then they don't have the health, they don't have the items, they don't have the ability to force those fights and try to break out of siege positions.
So they're technically behind now, but it's only 1,000 gold. Is that too far, or is there a win? There's a you know, a slight deficit they can be in still to fight these fights.
I don't think they can fight right now unless they execute the team fight perfectly. I'm talking about like massive wombo combo that sets up Yasuo across multiple players just because of the item breakpoints on their champions. But at 2 items, there is a window for BLG to try to get their footing back, which is why JD Gaming, it's kind of a race for them right now. Grab as much free gold as possible while BLG really can't fight you unless the perfect circumstance arises.
That was a big push coming out from JD though. Klid uses the Rift Herald in the mid lane to push through. They take down the mid lane outer turrets. It's now 2-1 turrets in favor of JD. Even teleport being used by Loken to match the push coming out from Kai'Sa on the top side of the map and stop BLG from responding with an outer turret of their own. It is going to be the Rageblade build coming out from Jinjiao and Kai'Sa. This is not the Stormrazor's crit build that we've seen for like SMLZ use. They're going towards the more ability power focused build.
And this is usually what we see Jin Zhao grab hold of. I'm actually really surprised that we haven't seen him experiment more with his champion pool. Jin Zhao is one of our Jin players, and we started to see Jin crop back into the LPL. I wouldn't have mind Jin in this composition. I think that Kai'Sa is a little bit dangerous because she is such short range, and you could actually make use of having a long range boom potential with the wombo combo. You know, you just imagine a 4th shot Jin comes up to someone who Camille signals out and just deletes someone from JD Gaming's fight.
Jin not necessarily having the best of times against a champion like Olaf, whereas Kai'Sa was a little bit better. Could be reactionary to the composition, but Olaf was the last pick coming up from JD, saving the last pick for Klid. An MVP performance in the first match. We haven't seen too much from the two, but they're the only players that actually have a point on the scoreboard at the moment. It's going to be Klid as well as Yagao working together in that mid lane, countering the ganks that we saw from Mole and Chieftain, brought in for this second match. Turret trade's going to continue. Jinjiao as well as Rhoda attacking the top side of the map, looking for top lane outer turret. Bottom side we see Lumao as well as Zoom currently pushing for that bottom lane outer turret. So a little bit slower when it comes to JD, but since first turret's already been taken down, doesn't matter how fast they get these.
But a big difference is that they're playing around, or JD Gaming are playing around a Swain in side lanes, whereas BLG get the access to play around both a Kai'Sa as well as a Camille. So their threat on towers and in prolonged kind of 1-3-1 scenarios are much more devastating, because look at how long it's taking Zoom to take not only the top outer tower, but now this bot outer tower, which is buying BLG, you know, free backs, free vision setup, a lot of free gold as they get to sit in the mid lane and pick up a lot of these waves.
Got a very slow match too between the two. It isn't the sizable lead that we saw JD work with in the first game, but still tempered aggression, making sure they attack where they are strong, not doing anything too risky or too aggressive that would give BLG the opportunities to use the crowd control they have with their composition and start fights that could be in their favor. Checking with some of the items that have been picked up. It's a late run of ages for Zoom in the top side of the map, only 3 stacks on that so far. He has his own stopwatch, but so does Lumao in the bottom lane. Aegis being picked up by Klid as well, so going towards a more supportive tanky route for the side of Olaf. We'll be able to help out either Yagao or Ezreal, depending on which one he decides to throw down the buffs towards. And it's still Jinjiao that side lane. Going towards the Nashor's too shortly, already has that Stinger, but he's happy to pick up farm wherever he can for BLG and try and be one of those carries in the late game.
And we're drawing closer to BLG kind of reaching that 2-item power spec that they were talking about, where they can look to more confidently set up big 5v5 wombo combos, which is what you see Jin Zhao hunting for right now. BLG recognize, okay, we can now attempt to break this siege pattern that JDG's composition wants to force. So there's the Azir tower, and now they're just going to start spell flinging. This is all up to Chieftain. He wants to find this flanking position, as well as AJ coming up from the bottom, because BLG are about to pull the trigger, or they want to.
Let's see if they can. Mole takes quite a bit of chip damage here as Road jumps in for the fight. Everyone's going to try and pile in. They kill Zoom to start the fight. No ultimate used by the Swain to kickstart that. It's a good combo coming out from BLG, and they punish JD for pushing for this tower.
But as long as JD Gaming are able to keep their health bars up and wait in between these waves, they might be rewarded still for that tower. Instead, because Sejuani still has access to ultimate, they're not going to force it.
I mean, plenty of ultimates still available. It's just the combo coming out from Road as well as Mole that got the first pick onto Zoom. Didn't even have time to use his stopwatch, couldn't even get into his ultimate Demonic Ascension. Just picked off to start the fight. good play from BLG.
And it goes back to that issue, you know, JD Gaming recognized we have this window where BLG aren't at 2 items, they can't fight us yet, we can try to grab as many objectives as possible. They were unable to break this inner mid tower. BLG now have the 2 completed items. They now know that they want a team fight, and they're going to try to force it at every time. BLG are strong now, and this is when they fight
They're going for it. Yagao finds the choke point and does the Shurima shuffle to look for a divide. Mole, he's in some trouble finding Mystic Shot, not going to connect, and Road jumps in front of the team, gets them to stand behind Brom. JD don't get nothing for it as they pick up an Elemental Dragon, but BLG do successfully disengage.
Mis-execution by BLG. We didn't see the very start of how that team fight went down, but I'm going to make a couple of judgments. Look at the vision patterns, and BLG were slow to the rotation, thought that they could confidently walk up to a narrow corridor and try to fight an Azir at this point of the game, and just got punished for it. So while yes, they can technically fight right now with their composition, they need to do so on open footing, allow open space for their Yasuo and their Sejuani to really tear apart these backlines.
Again, and every time one of these teams finds an avenue to pick a fight or start a fight, the other knows there is a way for them to disengage. BLG caught out, could have been a lot more trouble for them there. Even Road swapping out to cleanse as well as exhaust as his 2 summoner spells for now.
That's interesting.
Finally, not having a flash on one of the champions.
I don't know if that does more for Road or less. Now he can't flash in and die.
Is there any champion at the moment who, might not necessarily take flash? Because we've seen maybe Rakan here and there has gone for the exhaust ignite.
I think Rakan can get away with it just because of the added mobility on the champion, and Braum to a lesser extent because he's got a pretty long range CC between his ultimate as well as his Winter's Bite, and the ability to reposition himself with stand behind me, stand beside me, stand with me.
Oh, standing next to 2 enemies at the moment, Road is.
That's a classic Road special.
But you can swap out summoner spells that are on cooldown. So he's gotten rid of the flash, can't use it anyway, so he's got that extra layer of protection with the cleanse. Even the exhaust being picked up. Remember, he starts up with heal. QSS is picked up by Loken, so not flexing with the double tier right off the bat for JD this time. Jinja still looking for his 2nd item, only on the Rage Blade and the components for his Nash's too.
He's out of position right now. JD Gaming have the wave that's crashing right now. AJ doesn't have TP, and he's going back to base. BLG are out of position. They lose this tower for free.
JD gonna try and push forward. Missile doesn't connect.
Oh, the wind wall might save them. No, he didn't get in front of the tower.
Doesn't save them in time.
Disaster. That was all AJ and Jin Zhao. They needed to be aware that the push was coming. It's so obvious that that's the maneuver that JD Gaming are going to try to force, and they were just late on the rotation. That could have been such a win moment for BLG because they want to fight right there. They want to fight an open space where they can punish with the Camille Yasuo into backline, because fighting around things like Baron, Yasuo and Ezreal are going to tear them apart, controlling those choke points.
They also don't want to fall behind Frostgren, and unfortunately that's what's happened here. JD are now 2,000 gold ahead of BLG, and you explained this earlier, but BLG's only opportunity to try and fight JD is to force fights, and when you're behind that becomes difficult, especially when JD have a composition that can tear apart any sort of engage you throw their way.
Now, the one light at the end of the tunnel, if we think super far in advance, would be AJ on this Camille, because there is going to be a breaking point eventually. That said, Camille into Swain can still be precarious at best, depending on how it's going to go down. I'm going to put my faith in AJ and hope that he can get it done, but we do need to keep our eyes on this.
See if AJ can do it. I mean, it is his signature pick, so if the first step for setting AJ up for success is getting him on a comfortable champion, they've done that. He's split pushing rather effectively right now, has the Tiamat as well as the Trinity Force complete. Can't say too much about Zoom because he's been picked off once. It's not really his fault. It was from Bug of War where he got chain crowd controlled by everything from the Braum passive to Yasuo's ultimate. But he's been doing his job on this Swain pick. He's been trying to stay alive, hasn't been falling to any of the ganks that BLG have thrown their way, but I'm curious to see where do JDG go next. Because if BLG's opportunity to get back into the match is through the likes of Amazing J or a forced team fight, How did JDG get ahead here? Because they're playing very slow once again.
It's a controlled play, though. They know what they want. So all they need to do is continue to funnel gold onto their Ezreal, their Swain, and their Azir. And they're doing so quite safely. They're not being contested over this. And then not lose control over the top side of River or where the Baron is.
Okay.
Not because they want to force the Baron, but because JD Gaming are saying, okay, we're 2.5 items on a lot of our carries. Let's grab 3 items. And as soon as we have 3 items on our carries, then we're going to attempt to force around the Baron. Now, of course, the objective coming up in the meantime is the Mountain Dragon. Maybe JD Gaming get exposed because they don't have access to 3 items and then attempt to fight that. I would say if you don't feel comfortable 100%, just give that one away. This is overzealous.
Clit as well as Yagao trying to duo Baron. Yagao standing behind the pit using his soldiers, but...
Bad JD Gaming. 3 items, then do that. And the reason why you want to fight there is because at 3 items with Ezreal and Azir as well as Swain, the amount of control that you have over the choke points, you can just draw BLG again and again into that area. Draw them there the first time, burn their key ultimates like the Camille ultimate as well as the Sejuani ultimate, because your ability to turn off the Baron is so potent on this composition. And then do it again next time because you're not reliant on big ultimates. You have the ability to spell fling and put out so much more sustained damage without big TRs.
And in the next 5 minutes, JD will hit that power spike. Zoom already has the components for his Leandry's Torment. Clit already has the components for his next tank item. Even for the set of Yagao, Void Star coming up next. That's very close. He has both those components. Loken has the Bilgewater Cutlass for his Bladed Ruin King. And even these chases that you see here, 2 on 4, JD is still able to repel BLG back. So when they get those crucial items complete, when they have 3 items on most of their core players, that's when it's going to be difficult for BLG to start fights, which they have the tools to do.
Unfortunately, their big tool to really start fights, yes, they have the Sejuani, but it's not Chieftain who's pulling the trigger. It's really been AJ. And AJ is spending so much time out into these side lanes. But JD Gaming, they don't even want to wait. They keep trying to sneak this Baron, and I think they might have gotten their wish coming over the back of the pit.
I think they've got it because everybody from the side of BLG has moved towards Mountain Dragon. Now, they know they tried to go for that 2-man sneaky play earlier, but look at that. Yasuo shielding them. Lumel's very low, but Yagao has the soldiers. Even throws out the rest of them with his ultimate. Shen doesn't even fall. And a sneaky Baron buff is picked up by JD.
And the big key here is that they didn't need the Olaf. So showcasing that their jungler wasn't there, JD Gaming called the bluff from BLG and don't have to wait for the item power spike. Now they get to go back, they've got the Baron, now they have the 3 items, and they have complete control of the game. Because again, this is a comp that wants to siege, and now they have the Baron on top of it.
You can even see Yagao sneakily nodding his head after that play as well. JD have gone from a team that should have feared Baron for the better half of Spring Split, where I think they had the most Barons stolen away from them in Spring Split.
It was pretty atrocious.
And the sad part for them was, in 90% of the games that they had Baron buff stolen, they were winning, and that caused them to actually lose the match. So now they've been playing around Baron a lot more comfortable in Summer Split. You'd have to think that Coach Omens helped them out with that as well. And even to the point where they're comfortable making these plays once again. Going for the 2-man Baron Siege, trying to sneak it away from the likes of BLG. Very close, they make the play, and now they're going to start that siege. So it's very similar from the siege we saw before. As here's turret placed behind, and the closest turret they can, and then pushing towards the next one.
So here comes AJ, he's fighting front to back, so didn't look for a deep teleport flank, and it looks like it's going to get the Chieftain. JD Gaming have done a great job with their control wards around their sides to really prep themselves for the siege. They do need to be careful though because Zoom isn't there, does have TP, so would be able to join. But I feel like usually this is where BLG pull the trigger and have AJ teleport so far behind enemy lines and force a fight from the back line.
Because look at the setup from JD, you're right. Control wards are great. They spot out anywhere that BLG can go for a close flank to their base, which means their only opportunity is through the lane or that teleport, which they have not been able to find. Ragnarok gets popped by Olaf, looking to try and dash into the back lines, but just pushes BLG back a little bit longer. More poke coming out from Loken. They move towards the inhibitor turret and the inhibitor, both 4. And already JD making a good push with the Baron buff they picked up.
And the staple BLG play would have been to TP onto the Pixel Brush ward in bottom side river from Camille and try to break the game open. They didn't go for it, and now they've frankly run out of time as the 3 items have come through. Now you have so much global gold being picked up from JD Gaming that even if they don't break another inhib here on next back, I don't think BLG have the ability to team fight at that point. JD Gaming will be too far ahead.
The players we were looking towards was Zoom, Yagao as well as Loken, Leandris Torment picked up, Void Staff complete, Blade of the Ruin King complete. So there's 3 items and the Baron buff are enough for them. There's still a minute of Baron buff to work with. They've already taken down 1 inhibitor with it. Chieftain is looking for a flank. He's been able to clear out some of these minions, and bottom lane inhibitor turret is low.
Really greedy from JD Gaming. I think you make your backs right now. You don't try to force this, because BLG can win a team fight still at this point.
Zoom's going to teleport into the fight. He went back to base, picked up a needlessly large rod, and got all his mana and health back. So they're going to force it. Greedy Frostgrim, but it's worked. Look at BLG's hit points. He can't stand front to back. They need to find the flanks. They haven't been able to find these flanks.
And frankly, I have to look at Chieftain. You can't expect AJ to try to force this, but he's going to. Deep teleport. I think it's too late, but BLG are throwing the Hail Mary.
Well, this is the BLG play, but how can you throw the play when your jungler is dead? Road's going to take some damage, puts up the big Braum shield. JD see your flank, and quite frankly, they don't care. BLG now stuck under their nexus.
Too little, too late from BLG. JD Gaming against Sharks. They smell blood in the water. This looks like a 2-0.
They had to go for a last stand, and they even botched the last stand. Now a teamfight breaks out, and Yagao does the streamer shuffle. Doesn't even need to throw out the ultimate. Just keeps it there to deny BLG getting back towards their fountain. A clean shellacking from JD as they pick up the quick 2-0 against BLG.
And you must respect JD Gaming. You just saw a 30-minute victory with 4 kills. JD Gaming didn't hesitate, they didn't blink. There was no fiesta, there was no fumble, there was no bizarre LPL Chinese aggression. Just devastation.
I thought the LCK was over, Frostgrim. That league's done for now. I don't expect JD and BLG to bring it back to the LPL for some time.
All I'm saying is that people look at KT right now, they see that Korea lost MSI, they see that Korea lost Rift Rivals, and like, Worlds is in Korea though. LCK is still the best. That Chinese region, they don't know what they're doing. They can't handle a non-Fiesta meta.
Surprise!
No one sees this team coming.
JD, one of the underdogs of the split, now turning into one of the strongest teams we have in Summer Split. Everyone had their eyes towards RNG, but JD have snuck up. They're turning to be one of the cleanest team fighting teams, one of the teams with the cleanest fundamentals in the LPL. The only thing they really don't have is star power.
They don't have superstars.
You don't have a superstar. You don't have someone like Uzi on their squad.
Rookie, Uzi. It's crazy because we talk about Yagao and how he is such a talented potential, but still, because the mid lane talent pool is so stacked in the LPL, the likes of Scout performing really well, Rookie consistently, Icon, even Xiaohu when he decides to step up, some of those Rise performances, Yagao's right there, but again, no one on JDG are the top 3 in their position.
But hey, WE is a slight exception, but they did have some top players, but similar story. It's a band of players who work so well together that make up for the lack of star power, and JD are trying to be that team. And if that took WE all the way to the semi-finals at Worlds last year, JD could potentially try and make a very similar run, and their performance in Summer Split has been equal, if not on par with what WE were able to achieve last year.
With the exact same coach.
Yes.
So what does that tell you? JD Gaming making all of the proper investments, able to reboot their team from what a lot of people thought would be disaster without Doinby, and trying to make the miracle run.
Coach Home knows how to pick them. He identified that they had the exact same things that he was able to work with for Team WE, and says, now I can do it with JD in a 2-0 victory against BLG. I mean, the first match, it looked like BLG had no way to play around it. This match was much closer. I mean, the gold lead wasn't as drastic as what we saw from Game 1, but it still felt like there was no way for BLG to play around what was JD. You talked about Amazing J going for those teleport plays. Too little too late. JD were able to fight front to back and just completely ignore Camille on those flanks.
And that's the thing. You look at this series in a 2-0 and you say that this isn't about, this was the expected result. But you have to go back to the tape and you have to watch the decision-making that JD Gaming are making, how they're communicating across the map, how they're setting up these compositions when they're executing on it. They are very clearly a disciplined and very well-oiled machine. And it's kind of in the details about how they're taking these games, which makes them so impressive on paper. Because again, We knew that they were going to 2-0 BLG. No one had BLG winning this series, but it's still just so impressive to watch JD Gaming when they're on form.
It is. So now what do BLG have to do? They've experimented with different mid lane and jungle combinations, and it's always been Athena as well as Mianhao working together. Those were the ones that looked very strong during the Master Cup, and Chieftain and Mole, who looked very strong during Spring Split, and even during the games that they've lost that looked good in Summer Split. What do BLG have to change? Because it seems like they don't have that early game impact anymore, and they can't find ways to bridge to the late game, where they are actually powerful in team fighting.
Go back to fundamentals. I like the fact that in game number 2, they did go to a very traditional BLG-esque type of composition, but then it was misexecution. So in the first game, I think they completely fumbled draft. I still think that not having the Kindred, being forced to ban it from blue side, is a huge problem. That needs to be addressed and fixed. But keep this roster, keep these style of compositions, and then just keep running them repeatedly in scrims. And if you're the coach behind BLG, the number one thing that you're looking for right now is comms, because comms must be a mess, because there are so many times where key opportunities and windows are missed because people are late on their backs, they're not teleporting correctly. Like, think about it. When JD Gaming attempted to siege the first time with the Rift Herald, it was Jin Zhao in topside who wasn't transitioning or rotating quickly enough, and AJ who was just starting to back without teleport. You know, why don't you have the veteran to know that, okay, if I don't have my TP, I needed to back as soon as we saw that JD Gaming were trying to prep down mid lane, because they sat there for 3 waves of creeps, and AJ had to go back, walk from base, and wasn't there in time to start the fight. If BLG start the fight at that moment, I think that game is completely different, because they had the item advantage. They could have punished JD's composition.
It could have been, and we also saw the late game teleport, where they were sieging on turrets. It wasn't too big of a gold lead. It was one that BLG could have tried and fought back from. But misexecution, they had so many opportunities to use the teleport. They did it too little too late, and even when they did, Chieftain was caught out. The jungler was killed right off the start of those fights, and the teleport meant absolutely nothing. Off the back of that, though, it was Yakao that picked up MVP for that match. He threw out the Azir, one of his signature picks, and quite frankly showed Athena what you're meant to do with the champion in the early game.
And 100% kill participation with only participating in 5 kills. That tells you everything that you need to know about JD Gaming as a team. They are not a bloody team, but they can certainly tango with the best of them in the LPL. They're incredible team fighters. They can play early game, they can play late game, they can play various different compositions and styles, and they have massive champion pools. The only thing they don't have is superstar talent, and that's not stopping them from dominating the LPL.
No, it's not, and it didn't stop Team WE last year when they made it all the way to the World Championship semi-finals, and JD are looking to try and make their start in international play, doing a very similar performance. We're going to take a break, but don't go anywhere, because we have another match coming up in the LPL. It's RNG taking on Vici right after this.
让我们把故事传唱下去，继续书写 RNG 的传说。